So, hi everybody. I can't believe it's week 6. We're already halfway through the quarter, if you can believe it. This week we are going to jump into assessing and improving usability. And this is one of my core interest areas in health informatics. So, I'm really excited about the material that we're going to share with you this week. We actually have a lot of material this week, and that's because there's not one way to look at usability of information systems. My motto for looking at the ways in which systems are effectively used is to check early and check often. In the work that I do, I use a process called user-centered design, which you'll learn about this week, which actually involves target users who are the end users of your system early during the design, well before implementation of systems. But usability can involve not only design, but also involvement of a number of stakeholders throughout implementation and evaluation of systems. So there's a lot of different material this week to cover that breadth. We've got some great introductory videos on usability in health information technology systems. How do we support effective use and integration of systems so that they're usable by end users? We are going to talk a little bit about requirements gathering. Now, requirements are a documentation of what the system should do and how it should behave to allow the end user to meet their goals. So we have a lecture on requirements engineering, and there's also, I wanted to note that there's a workflow analysis of a nurse case manager at the very end of that video that you might find interesting to take a look at. We have then 3 videos on human factors. Now, human factors is an area that has informed the design of health information systems considerably. A lot of this work comes out of the field of psychology, looking at how do you design a user interface that's intuitive and usable by an end user. They're also going to talk about in that series of videos about human factors, about the systems approach. Now, this is a really interesting perspective that's really important and is growing in its importance as we understand how information systems can support collaboration and other social behaviors, and not just focusing only on individual interaction. So we're going to talk about the systems approach and how we can, when we're designing and implementing and evaluating systems, how we can take into account not only the individual user who may be pressing the buttons, but also the environmental context in which they're working, other people with whom they may be interacting and exchanging information with, as well as the individual and the various information resources that they need to complete their work. So a lot of interesting foundational work from the area of human factors. We also have a lecture, actually 4 lectures on, is it 4 lectures? I think it's actually only 1 lecture on EHR and usability. And this one is kind of an interesting piece in that there's some discussion of different studies that are comparing different kinds of interfaces and kind of pulling out what works in which situations. We've also, again, this week found some interesting videos. This week, David Kelly is going to provide a quick overview of human-centered design. This is the perspective of really looking at how do you design a system to meet the needs of target users and really bringing that individual into the design process early on. This is a perspective that I use strongly in my work and has been very instrumental in designing usable systems. We also have a short video by Scott Clemmer from Stanford talking about user-centered design and human-computer interaction. And both of those videos really don't talk about health specifically, but these methods have been quite instrumental in the design of information systems and other contexts. So I think you'll find them a useful perspective in terms of how they can shape the design of health information systems as well. We also have a video from the Mayo Clinic in which they talk about the role of human factors in the design of the surgery center. And that's kind of interesting because they're not focusing on a particular information system in that video, but more or less talk about the larger system of how the surgery room works. We have a bunch of optional materials as well because this is there's such a breadth of material that's applicable to addressing and improving usability. So feel free to explore the optional materials, but they're not required this week. You'll see those on the module listed though. The challenge question this week is posted. I've already seen some students responding with great ideas on what kinds of systems and features you found usable in your life, both inside and outside of health information technologies. That should be quite interesting to hear about what kinds of things you get frustrated by and what kinds of things work well and what can we learn about those kinds of designs that work well and implement them in health settings. The Learning Journal is due this week. This is Learning Journal number 3. This one is a little bit different than the last couple weeks. This one we're giving you a scenario about a system that's not working so well, and you are on you're on the implementation team, and your job is to come up with a plan to address this issue. And so we want you to really draw on the material from not only this week but last week, and come up with a few concrete steps and for how you might address a problem like this, to understand the problem better, maybe looking at who you might involve in your plan to address this problem, and some concrete strategies based on the materials. Lastly, discussion leaders this week, you're listed on the module materials. If you don't see your name there, please let me know as soon as possible so that we can correct that. Discussion leaders, you should be coordinating early this week to pose 2 to 3 questions to your small group by Wednesday at noon. Remember, discussion leaders, to please complete your peer evaluations of the other discussion leaders in your small group and have that submitted by Friday. Also, please remember, discussion leaders, to post your synthesis of your small group discussions back into the all-class challenge question discussion thread. If you only share that if you only share the synthesis back in your small group, then the rest of the class can't benefit from learning about the kinds of issues you talked about in your small group. So please remember to post those synthesis back into the larger class forum for the week. And I think that just about does it for this week. I hope you enjoy the materials as much as I do, and I look forward to some great discussions. Take care.